Microsoft stopped reporting sales for the Xbox One back in November of 2014, so sadly we can only speculate how far behind the PS4 they really are. The latest estimates put them under half of the 80 million PlayStation 4 sales at around 35 million. That's especially crazy because 16 months into the life of the Switch, it's already sold 20 million. How did this happen? Last generation, the 360 beat the PS3 for almost the entire generation, barely losing at the very last moment. It set Microsoft up to be hugely successful in this generation as well. So what went wrong? And how can they avoid those problems in the future? It all started with the reveal when this chucklehead, Don Matrick, took the stage. He said all the things no one wanted to hear about the Xbox One. Very small gripe, calling it an Xbox One is still such a weird decision, but I don't think that really contributed to the bad sales. The Xbox One was supposed to be always online. If you didn't have an internet connection, you couldn't play it. And when Don Matrick was asked, what about people without internet? He literally said, well, if you don't have internet, just play on the 360. That's not a solution, Don. Also, with their new system for games, each game disc would come with a code, and you'd use the disc to install the game, and then you wouldn't need the disc anymore. But without the code, you wouldn't be able to install the game, so you couldn't sell it to GameStop for $2. You couldn't let a friend borrow it. It was a very odd decision on their part. I think in the future, that would make sense. But this is way too early to do this. Even in 2018, this would not be a good idea. Also, the Xbox One has to use the Kinect. Major Nelson famously said, there isn't just some switch we can flip to turn off that functionality. Yet, here we are, years later. Kinect isn't required, people barely use the Kinect, and somehow the Kinect functionality got worse over time, almost as if they want people to get rid of their Kinect. But the big thing about the reveal to me that really just seemed so tone-deaf and wrong was the focus on it being a multimedia device. There was never a focus on games out of the gate. You know, because the Xbox 360 was successful because of Netflix, not because of the games. Speaking of the games, the other big problem, obviously, that the Xbox One has had is the lack of quality exclusives. Exclusives are the main reason why people choose a console over another console. When you think of Xbox, the exclusives that come to mind, Halo, Gears of War, the Xbox One has had those. So what's been the problem? Well, Gears of War 4 was disappointing to most players. It seemed like a departure in feel and tone, and you didn't play as Marcus Phoenix. He was just kind of a extra character and part of the game. And then there's Halo 4, which was the first post-Bungie Halo game. The way 343 handled Halo 4, it really made people wary about the series. So then by the time Halo 5 came out, people just weren't as into it anymore. Then you look at games like Scalebound that get hyped up and seem like maybe this will be the exclusive that'll finally draw people to the Xbox One. And then it gets canceled. Or you look at a game like Crackdown 3 that's been in development hell for so long, it's been delayed at least 18 times, and it's from a series that's kind of mediocre. It might turn out to be garbage. From what we've seen, it might look like it could be sort of a Saints Row vibe. They're really pushing the fact that you play as Terry Crews, and I think it has to come out next year. They can't delay that game anymore. And sure, there's other exclusives. You've got Loco Cycle. That's not going to draw anybody in. You got Sunset Overdrive. That's a quality exclusive. But it was early in the life cycle and it didn't really have a good marketing push behind it. You've got Super Lucky's Tale that I actually really enjoyed, but it's just not the kind of game that's going to sell a console. And that's it. Those are the only reasons I really think that it hasn't done that well. They haven't had a good focus on games until later in the console cycle, and that initial reveal just left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. Now, in the last few years, they've done a lot of things right. They've made a lot of really good decisions, chief of which was when Don Matrick left the company and Phil Spencer became the new head of Xbox. Phil Spencer is very convincing as a guy that cares about games and wants to make the console more about games. He even said that the focus on the Xbox One had been off before and that they kind of needed to reboot the system. But when this guy talks about games, I really believe him. He might just be lying because it's a business thing, but he's convincing, and that's what really matters. Whenever he takes the stage at E3 and talks about games, I have more faith in the Xbox One each time I see him speak at a conference. At E3 this year, they announced 5 studios they had acquired to make first-party games for the Xbox. Since they've just acquired them, the games for the Xbox that they're making might not even be for the Xbox One. It might be for the Scarlet, their next console, or they might have games that come out in a couple of years for the Xbox One. That's why even that, as good as an announcement as that is, I don't think it's enough to really sway the direction of the Xbox One. Another great decision they've made is the Game Pass. This huge library of games they add to every month. You just pay $10 a month and you get these games. It's a great deal, because not only do you get Xbox One games, you also get a bunch of Xbox 360 backwards compatible games. That's another good decision that they've made. Backwards compatibility. The ability to just play the 360 games you already have. When you buy an Xbox One, if you had any 360 digital games, there's a pretty good chance that a lot of them are already going to be in your library on Xbox One. Now, why do these not really matter that much in the grand scheme of things? Game Pass and backwards compatibility is really only good if you already have an Xbox One. Nobody's going to buy an Xbox One because it can play 360 games or because it can play original Xbox games. Earlier this year, they announced that all first-party games are going to be day and date on Game Pass when they release. And that was before State of Decay 2 came out and before Sea of Thieves came out. But those are the only 2 exclusive games so far that have come out since that announcement was made, and both of those came to very mediocre reviews. So that hasn't really helped it either. I think Xbox is really set up for the next generation for them to change things, turn things around, as long as they get off on the right foot. Which I think they will with Phil Spencer at the head of things. And that's all I really have to say about the Xbox One. No, wait, there is one more thing I want to say about the Xbox One. I call it the X-Bone. I remember when it was first announced, some people jokingly called it the X-Bone. And I think Major Nelson got mad and he's like, that's disrespectful for the legacy of the... Here's the thing. Calling it the Xbox One, I like X-Bone just because it's 2 syllables. I know that's stupid, but like when I think of the X-Bone, I never call it the X-Bone in like a derogatory way. I've got my X-Bone right next to my Switch, right next to my PS4. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, subscribe, comment below about what I should talk about in the next video. So let me know in the comments what I should talk about. Follow me on Twitter at MassiveCORE. I'm over there asking for ideas and feedback and stuff all the time. And we'll see you in the next video. Again, thank you for watching. Yes, I haven't turned on my Xbox One in like 3 months.